Whatever said, shouted and done. Yoga is nothing but physical exercises used to strengthen muscles and hence feeling relaxed and happy, exaggerated and decorated with religious selfishness of the ruling class upon the slaves. The psychomotor physical exercises, organ-to-organ coordination, rhythm, timing, awareness of muscular and bone limitations are all paved way to dance, music and other performances of entertainment and sometimes defense as per the need of the slave owners over the slave class. The bow and arrow is an ancient weapon that originated in the Paleolithic era, around 71,000 years ago. The earliest evidence of bows and arrows comes from South African sites, such as Sibudu Cave, where arrowheads dating back to 72,000 to 60,000 years ago have been found. The oldest material remains of bows are between 8,000 and 11,000 years old and were found in Europe. The discovery of fire is attributed to Homo erectus, the genetic ancestors of humans. Homo erectus inhabited the Earth around 2 million years ago, and evidence of fire use dates back to this time. The first evidence of fire being used in a controlled way dates back at least 1 million years and is linked to Homo erectus ancestors in Africa. It is assumed that they were inspired by naturally occurring flames from forest fires and lightning strikes. Humans first used fire for many aspects of daily life, including cooking, hunting, making tools, light, and warmth. However, it's difficult to determine when fire was discovered because Homo erectus controlled and used fire long before modern humans evolved. There is no written or recorded history about learning to control and use fire. Archaeologists examined the available data for European sites and concluded that habitual use of fire wasn't part of the suite of human behaviors until about 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. The earliest evidence of humans using fire in India is from the main Balan archaeological site in the Balan River Valley in Uttar Pradesh, and dates back to between 50,000 and 55,000 years ago. This is the first known and reported evidence of fire used by prehistoric humans during the Middle Paleolithic phase in the Indian subcontinent. Fire activity peaked during the early to mid-Holocene, about 10 to 5 kilo-annum period, which overlaps with the timing of agricultural practices in the Balan Valley. Agricultural communities developed approximately 10,000 years ago when humans began to domesticate plants and animals. Agriculture in India began around 9000 BCE in northwest India with the domestication of animals and the cultivation of plants. The Bhagavad Gita, Rig Veda * and Atharva Veda contain details about agriculture, including crops, cultivation, and manuring. The earliest evidence of archery in India dates back to the Vedic period, which began around 1500 BCE. The Vedas are a collection of religious texts written in Sanskrit between 1500 and 500 BCE, and early evidence of Indian archery can be found in the Vedas and ancient cave paintings. Archery was considered a vital martial skill for the warrior classes. A later document, Eber's Papyrus, 1550 BC, relates the use of concoctions containing honey, antibacterial properties, lint, absorbent properties, and grease, barrier for treating wounds. According to Hindu scriptures, Shiva defeated the demon king Ravana by trapping him under Mount Kailash with his big toe. Ravana, who was trying to lift the mountain to move Shiva from Kailash to Lanka, let out a loud cry of pain when the mountain fell on top of him. Shiva named Ravana, after his cry, which means, one who cries. Life 40,000 years ago, during the Upper Paleolithic period, was very different from today. It was a physically demanding lifestyle for hunter-gatherers, who lived in a range of environments across Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia. They spent most of their time gathering edible fruits or following game, and hunting game. They also faced many challenges, including lack of knowledge in sanitation, which put them at odds with deadly infections. Animals hunting humans for a living. Food wasn't a sure thing. 40,000 years ago was also a turning point in human creativity, when modern Homo sapiens arrived in Europe and left the first unambiguous artifacts of abstract and symbolic thought. 40,000 years ago, humans were hunter-gatherers who lived in small groups, moving from place to find resources. They used tools made of stone, bone, or wood for daily tasks, and fire for warmth and protection from wild animals. Cave paintings were popular, and they had primitive language. The earliest known human remains in South Asia date back to 30,000 years ago, and anatomically modern humans first arrived on the Indian subcontinent between 73,000 and 55,000 years ago. However, a 2018 study published in Nature suggests that early humans may have left Africa much earlier, with tools from the Middle Paleolithic, 200,000 to 40,000 years ago, found in Tamil Nadu, India, dating back to 385,000 years ago. The Paleolithic Age, or Old Stone Age, is divided into three periods: Lower, Middle, and Upper Paleolithic. The Lower Paleolithic period lasted until 40,000 BC, while the Upper Paleolithic period lasted from 40,000 to 8,000 BC. The Lower Paleolithic period is further divided into the Oldowan and Acheulean stages. Oldowan stage. This stage lasted from about 2.6 million to 1 million years ago, and people used pebble tools. Acheulean stage. This stage lasted from 1.7 to 1.5 million years ago to about 250,000 to 200,000 years ago, and people used sophisticated hand axes and cleaving tools. The Upper Paleolithic period is characterized by the emergence of regional stone tool industries, such as the Perigordian, Aurignacian, Solutrean, and Magdalenian of Europe. The Upper Paleolithic period is also when anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, are believed to have expanded from Africa throughout Asia and Eurasia, contributing to the extinction of the Neanderthals. The Mesolithic period, also known as the Middle Stone Age, is an archaeological term for the prehistoric period between the Paleolithic and Neolithic periods, which lasted from around 10,000 to 5,000 BC. The exact start and end dates vary by region. The oldest recorded pictographic reference to Shiva lie in early prehistoric paintings at the Bhimbetka rock shelters, carbon dated to be from 10,000 BCE. By 10,000 BC, agriculture was well established in India. The Neolithic Age, 6000 BCE to 1000 BCE, in India was a time when people used axes as their primary weapons. In the northwest, people used rectangular axes with curved cutting edges. Ancient Indian weapons included bows and arrows, the primary weapon for infantry, chariot and elephant warriors, and commanders. Swords. The Khanda, a double-edged straight sword that originated in the Indian subcontinent, dates back to the 2nd century AD. Shields. Oval, rectangular, or bell-shaped shields, often made of hides. Spears. Javelins, lances, pikes, clubs, and maces. The earliest evidence of bells dates back to the 3rd millennium BC, with pottery clapper bells found in the Yangshao culture of Neolithic China. The earliest metal bells date to around 2000 BC, with one found in the Taosi site and 4 in the Erlatu site. The ancient Chinese were skilled bell founders, with their craft reaching its peak during the Zhou dynasty, circa 1046 to 256 BC. The first bells were made from metal plate, and legend says that Bishop Pontius Meronius Paulinus cast the first bronze bell around 410, based on the shape of a wild flower. The earliest bell that has survived in Europe was made in 613 and is currently held in Cologne. The unique ability of bells to produce strong sounds that can travel long distances was used by many cultures and ancient civilizations as a means of communication and later as a musical instrument. In India, one sees bells only in Vijayanagara period. The Bronze Age is a historic period, lasting from approximately 3300 BC to 1200 BC. It is characterized by the use of bronze, the use of writing in some areas, and other features of early urban civilization. The Bronze Age is the middle principal period of the three-age system, between the Stone and Iron Ages. This system was proposed in 1836 by Christian Jurgensen Thomson for classifying and studying ancient societies and history. Worldwide, the Bronze Age generally followed the Neolithic period, with the Chalcolithic serving as a transition. The figure commonly referred to as Shiva, in the context of the Harappan, Indus Valley, civilization pertains to an anthropomorphic figure discovered in the archaeological remains of this ancient civilization. However, it is important to note that identifying this figure as Shiva is speculative and subject to interpretation. The Harappan civilization existed from approximately 3300 BCE to 1300 BCE, while the Vedic tradition, which includes the god Shiva, developed later. The Pashupati seal is one of the most well-known artifacts that has led to the association with Shiva. This seal features a seated, cross-legged figure surrounded by animals and symbols. Some scholars have suggested that this figure may represent a deity associated with animals, nature, or fertility, and have drawn parallels between this figure and the later Hindu god Shiva, who is often associated with animals, asceticism, and yogic practices. However, it is crucial to approach such identifications with caution. The Harappan civilization predates the emergence of classical Hinduism, and the religious and cultural context of the time would have been quite different. The Pashupati seal's meaning and the identity of the depicted figure are still subjects of scholarly debate, and no definitive conclusions have been reached. While the figure from the Harappan civilization associated with the Pashupati seal has been likened to Shiva in modern times, this connection is not certain. This figure's exact identity and significance within the Harappan culture remain a subject of ongoing research and interpretation. Shiva has pre-Vedic tribal roots, having his origins in primitive tribes, signs and symbols. Marshall's analysis of the Indus Valley religion, and the Pashupati seal in particular, was very influential and widely accepted for at least the next 2 generations. Herbert Sullivan, who had significant disagreements with it, recognized in 1964 that Marshall's analysis has been accepted almost universally and has greatly influenced scholarly understanding of the historical development of Hinduism. Writing in 1976, Doris Srinivasan introduced an article otherwise critical of Marshall's interpretation by observing that, no matter what position is taken regarding the seal's iconography, it is always prefaced by Marshall's interpretation. On balance, the proto-Shiva character of the seal has been accepted. Thomas Makaveli noted, in line with Marshall, that the central figure was in the yoga pose Malabandhasana, quoting the Kalpa Sutra's description, a squatting position with joined heels, used with meditation and fasting to attain infinite knowledge, Kevala. Alf Hilterbitel noted in 2011 that, following Marshall's analysis, nearly all efforts at interpreting the Indus Valley religion have centered discussion around the Pashupati seal figure. A lot of discussion has taken place about this seal. While Marshall's work has earned some support, many critics and even supporters have raised several objections. Herbert Sullivan interpreted the figure as a female goddess on the grounds that the so-called erect phallus actually represents the dangling end of a waistband or girdle, a feature found on many undoubtedly female terracotta figurines, and ambiguous on some other seals. Marshall himself had admitted this was possible. In the terracottas, males are always nude. In addition, the jewelry worn on the Pashupati seal is characteristic of female rather than male terracottas. The figure of Shiva as he is known today is an amalgamation of various older deities into a single figure, due to the process of Sanskritization and the emergence of the Hindu synthesis in post-Vedic times. Caste system in India, which is clearly slave economy, enlarged df using post-Vedic period in the tribal society with tribal religion. The Indian society as a whole is tribal even today in this sense. The Iron Age in India started around 1800 to 1200 BC, when people transitioned from bronze to iron tools and weapons. Iron artifacts dating between 2400 BC and 1800 BC have been found in Telangana. The Saptarshi, or Saptarishi, are the 7 sages of ancient India. The names are Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulahar, Kratu, Pulastya, and Vasishtha. The Saptarshi are revered for their teachings and insights, which continue to guide and inspire people today. They are mentioned in the Vedas and other Hindu literature, such as the Skanda Purana. The Saptarishis are 7 ancient sages or seers who are considered to be the first yoga practitioners on earth. The word Saptarishi comes from the Sanskrit word sapta, meaning 7, and rishi, meaning sage, or seer. According to legend, Adiyogi, Lord Shiva taught yoga to the Saptarishis so they could pass along the knowledge and tradition to humanity. Adiyogi assigned each sage a specific dimension or aspect of yoga, which contribute to a comprehensive understanding and practice of yoga. These aspects became the 7 basic forms of yoga, which yoga still maintains today. The Saptarishis are revered in Hinduism as the 7 great sages who were born from the mind of Brahma, the Creator, and continue to guide the human race through the 4 yugas. They are often associated with the ancient practice of meditation and asceticism, and the deep meditation and austerity, tapas, gave them a profound insight into reality and the nature of the universe. The word moksha first appears in the middle and later Upanishads, such as the Svetasvatara and Maitri. The proto-concept that first appears in the ancient Sanskrit verses and early Upanishads is musayat, which means freed or released. The term moksha is derived from the Sanskrit word muk, to free, and literally means freedom from samsara. The concept of liberation, moksha, is a necessary concept in Indian philosophy and occupies a significant place in the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita describes liberation or moksha as the attainment of an individual's natural state by relinquishing its imposed state. The concept of liberation or release is shared by a wide spectrum of religious traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. If you cannot afford with the ideas of previous and future births, then there is no need of liberation moksha and no use of yoga. It is physical and muscular exercises peppered with Hindu religion. If you go for modern neurology and nerve centers, why do you waste time on yoga? Yoga is useful to be religiously healthy if you are a slave. Modern health involves no religion. Psychomotor learning involves acquiring and honing physical movement and coordination skills. The term psychomotor is derived from psycho, relating to the mind, and motor concerning physical movement. The psychomotor domain of learning encompasses 7 categories: perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. Here are some sequential steps of psychomotor skill learning that may assist faculty with this process: preparation, conceptualization, visualization, verbalization, practice, feedback, mastery, and autonomy. The Vijnana-Bhairava, an ancient book on yoga, describes 112 types of yoga. The book is based on the principles of Saivagama and is said to describe many ways to approach the central reality that is present in each person as their essential self. The book also discusses 112 meditation techniques that can help people realize their true selves. The book begins with a conversation between God Shiva and Goddess Parvati, Shakti. Yogi is a caste name in North India. The Jogi, also spelled Jugi or Yogi, is a Hindu community that originated from ancient migrants from the southern Indian states of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Gujarat. They are also known as Nath, Jogi Nath, Jugi Nath, Nath Jogi, Haral, and Rawal. The Nath castes that have developed are also known as castes of yogis or jogis and are part of the Brahminic elite. However, they are nowhere considered among the highest in the Hindu hierarchy. Adiyogi in the Veliangiri foothills of Coimbatore, South India was inaugurated on the 24th of February 2017 by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, on the occasion of Mahashivaratri. He also launched a companion book, Adiyogi, The Source of Yoga, written by Sadhguru. On the auspicious night of Mahashivaratri at Isha Yoga Center, an iconic face of Adiyogi, the source of yoga, was unveiled by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Recognized as the world's largest bust sculpture by the Guinness World Records, the face of Adiyogi is 112 feet high, representing the 112 ways he offered for one to attain to well-being and one's ultimate nature. A bust is a sculpture or representation of the upper part of the human body, including the head, neck, shoulders, and chest. Aisha is a stylized form of the Tamil word, Eesan, which means God, especially Sivan. Aisha is also a feminine name of Hindu origin that means, one who protects, or, the ruler. In Hinduism, Aisha is a name for the Supreme Being, and it is also used to refer to the goddesses Parvati to express her purity. Over 15,000 years ago, predating all religion, Adiyogi, the first yogi, transmitted the science of yoga to his 7 disciples, the Saptarishis. He expounded 112 ways through which human beings can transcend their limitations and reach their ultimate potential. Adiyogi's offerings are tools for individual transformation, as individual transformation is the only way to transform the world. His fundamental message is that, in is the only way out, for human well-being and liberation. Founder of Aisha Foundation, Jaggi Vasudev, said the bust of Adiyogi was built in 8 months. He also lauded Modi for practicing yoga as per news on it. And we keenly observe, yoga is just one of many systems and/or forms of knowledge, skills or practices used in the region to prevent, diagnose, improve or treat physical and mental illness, and which may be integrated into preventive and promotive health strategies at the primary health care level, as highlighted in the region's new strategy for primary health care. Shiva is also known as Adiyogi, the first yogi, regarded as the patron god of yoga, meditation and the arts. The iconographical attributes of Shiva are the serpent king Vasuki around his neck, the adorning crescent moon, the holy river Ganga flowing from his matted hair. Shiva is also known as Adiyogi, the first yogi, regarded as the patron god of yoga, meditation and the arts. The iconographical attributes of Shiva are the serpent king Vasuki around his neck, the adorning crescent moon, the holy river Ganga flowing from his matted hair, the third eye on his forehead, the eye that turns everything in front of it into ashes when opened, the Trishula or trident as his weapon, and the Damaru. He is usually worshipped in the aniconic form of lingam. Shiva has pre-Vedic roots, and the figure of Shiva evolved as an amalgamation of various older non-Vedic and Vedic deities, including the Rig-Vedic storm god Rudra, who may also have non-Vedic origins, into a single major deity. Shiva is a pan-Hindu deity, revered widely by Hindus in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Indonesia, especially in Java and Bali. Mount Kailash has always been part of Tibet, and when China took Tibet in 1949, they took the mountain too. In the past, a Nepali king gifted the area to a Tibetan king. A yogi is a person who practices yoga, or a practitioner of meditation in Indian religions. The word yogi comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to join or unite. In India, a yogi can be a spiritual practitioner of various kinds, but in the West, it's come to refer to someone who does physical yoga asana, or poses with names like cat, cow, and downward dog. The World Health Organization (WHO) has not found yoga, but here's some information about the history of yoga. Yoga is an ancient practice that originated in northern India over 5,000 years ago. The word yoga first appears in the Rig Veda, a sacred ancient Sanskrit text. The Indus-Saraswati civilization developed the beginnings of yoga, which is a combination of physical, mental, and spiritual practices that focus on breathing, flexibility, and strength. The Brahmins and Rishis, spiritualist diviners, gradually refined and enhanced yoga, archiving their practices and convictions in the Upanishads, a large work containing more than 200 sacred scriptures. The most famous of the yogic sacred texts is the Bhagavad Gita, composed around 500 BCE. Yoga became popular in the West in the late 1890s when Indian monks began to spread their knowledge. In the early part of the last millennium, the idea that the physical body was a hindrance on the path to enlightenment began to be discarded as yoga practitioners began to embrace the body as a means of self-realization. Though yoga was being practiced in the pre-Vedic period, the great sage Maharshi Patanjali systematized and codified the then existing practices of yoga, its meaning and its related knowledge through his Yoga Sutras. On the 11th of December 2014, the United Nations General Assembly declared June 21st as the International Day of Yoga. June 21st is the summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, which marks the longest day and shortest night of the year. On this day, the sun is at its highest point in the sky and appears to shift north from the equator, reaching directly over the Tropic of Cancer, 23 degrees north. The Northern Hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, causing sunlight to fall at a steeper angle, which leads to the hot summer months. Can you comprehend anything in the limelight of the Hindu religion and the exaggerated glory of the UNO and world peace, which is your peace? Since 1948, more than 3,500 UN peacekeepers have died in action, including 943 killed by violence. In 2023, the UN peacekeeping mission celebrated its 75th anniversary, and data shows that more than 4,300 personnel from various countries have lost their lives during these 75 years. India has contributed the largest number of troops, more than 253,000, and 175 Indian peacekeepers have died while serving in UN missions. The United Nations Peacekeeping Force, UNPKF, is a tool used by the United Nations, UN, to help countries transition from conflict to peace. The UNPKF deploys military, police, and civilian personnel to regions affected by conflict or political instability. The primary objective of the UNPKF is to facilitate peace and security, protect civilians, and support the restoration of stable governance structures. United Nations peacekeeping personnel face numerous stressors due to their challenging deployments. Past studies have had inconsistent results regarding whether or not their deployment experience affects their mental health outcomes. Further studies are required to ascertain the associations between their outcomes and factors before, during and after their peacekeeping missions. Yoga can have a calming effect on the nervous system, which is divided into the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. The CNS includes the brain and spinal cord, while the PNS includes everything else. Yoga can help regulate the nervous system, which can help the body find balance or homeostasis. Yoga can have the following effects on the nervous system: decreased activity in the fight or flight nervous system, reduced stress and anxiety, deep breathing, and oxygen circulation. Yoga can also help correct an overactive SNS and underactive PNS, which can underlie stress-related disorders. Regular practice of yoga can keep cortisol levels low, which can improve the health of the nervous system and produce a sense of well-being. Yoga is an ancient mind and body healing method that includes breath control, meditation, and adaptation of various specific body poses or asana. The World Health Organization has promoted yoga in developing countries since 1978. Some postures such as headstand, shoulder stand, and lotus position have been reported as causes of injury. Yoga is also used directly as therapy, especially for psychological conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, but the evidence for this remains weak. Yoga has sometimes been marketed with pseudoscientific claims for specific benefits, when it may be no better than other forms of exercise in those cases, and some claims for its effects on particular organs, such as that forward bends eject toxins from the liver, are entirely unfounded. The United Nations Peacekeeping, UNPKF, began in May 1948 when the UN Security Council authorized the deployment of military observers to the Middle East to monitor the armistice agreement between Israel and its Arab neighbors. The operation was named the United Nations Truce Supervision Organization, UNSO. Since then, UNPKF has taken part in 72 missions around the globe, 12 of which continue today. WHO meant yoga as a healing for third world countries is another fact. If you are not a slave and even if you are among the corporates you can help without the yoga. The word yoga meaning union, and the political parties of India call their meetings yoga. The bust is made of iron. Tons of iron. When diplomats met to form the United Nations in 1945, one of the things they discussed was setting up a global health organization, whose constitution came into force on the 7th of April 1948, a date we now celebrate every year as World Health Day. Disguised unemployment, also known as hidden unemployment, is a situation where people are employed but not working to their full potential. It can also refer to a portion of the labor force that is either unemployed or working redundantly. The definition of moksha is the freedom from the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. This is the ultimate goal of an individual who practices Hinduism. Moksha is derived from the Sanskrit word, muk, which means to free. In Indian culture, the term moksha literally means freedom from samsara. Moksha is a concept in Buddhism that refers to freedom from the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, also known as samsara. It is also known as vimoksha, vimukti, mukti, apavaga, and moksha. Moksha is achieved through meditation, self-realization, and living according to the teachings of one's religion. Moksha is also an important aspect of Hinduism and Jainism. In Hinduism, there are 4 main paths to reach moksha: bhakti, the path of devotion; gnana, the path of knowledge; karma, the path of selfless service; raja, the royal path of meditation. In Buddhism, the ultimate aim is to become free from samsara. Moksha is derived from the Sanskrit word muk, which means to free. In Indian culture, the term moksha literally means freedom from samsara. Moksha is similar to the word nirvana in Buddhism. It is a state of eternal bliss and emptiness. Samsara is a Sanskrit and Pali word that means wandering, or world, and can also connote cyclic change, or running around in circles. In Buddhism and Hinduism, samsara is the beginningless cycle of repeated birth, mundane existence, and dying again. It is considered to be suffering, perpetuated by desire and ignorance, and the resulting karma. Here are some differences between yoga in Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. Jainism, yoga is an essential part of life in Jainism, and the practice acknowledges its debt to Jainism. Jain meditation focuses on yoga, while Buddhism focuses on anatta, and Hinduism focuses on Atman. Buddhism focuses on anatta, while Hinduism focuses on Atman. Hinduism, yoga is not a culturally homogeneous, all Hindu, Vedic tradition. It does not adhere to any particular religion, belief system, or community. Moksha, or liberation, is a key concept in yoga and the ultimate goal of yoga practice. In Hinduism, yoga is a variety of practices that help unite the body, mind, and soul with divinity in the quest for moksha. The term yoga comes from the Sanskrit word meaning union. Political party meetings in India are called by yoga, maybe union. Treasure boxes in front of religious institutions hold black money. Those who labor rationally get wages, spend it for money, will not put money in the treasure boxes. Those are making black unaccounted money, and those who are ignorant put money in the treasure boxes. One own side redundant unemployment make black money, and on the other end treasure boxes hoard black money, having no source, no tax, no rules, no laws, no order, hence no peace. All this information's contained here if collected, and the accuracy cannot be assured. Requesting you to watch the videos like Dolavira Lothal Bimbitka in this channel and comment your opinion. Watch, enjoy, like, comment, subscribe and share videos of this channel. Thank you.